Hey everyone out there, how's it going? Good to see you this fine Saturday. Getting the summer heat on here in Chicago. It's been a nice time. We'll get started here in a moment. If you're out there on Facebook and YouTube, stand by. If this is your first time, we'll introduce the program. We'll tell you what's going on. It's called Piano Tech Radio Hour, and we're doing a live Zoom call. We do have a little bit of a Zoom audience here. If you felt like you wanted to jump into Zoom instead of being on Facebook, YouTube, we'll put a link so you can do that. Otherwise, sit back, relax, enjoy the program. I'll do an intro here momentarily, but we just like to take a minute to get everybody settled, get the Zoom participants settled in here, get their bearings. So this is Piano Tech Radio Hour, as I said, and what we do is we gather here every Saturday to meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano world. Could be manufacturers, rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, of course, piano techs, all sorts of fine folks. Our mutual goal here is to become better at our crafts, to help each other, and to create an ever more musical world together. Piano Tech Radio Hour is brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses. This is an online learning resource that brings you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You can find out more at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. You can also subscribe to Radio Hour. Just 16 bucks a month. You get direct access to each week's private Zoom call. I cover recordings of well over 200 episodes in our member area. You can join using the link bit.ly/join PTRH. That's bit.ly/join PTRH. And then a little bit of a shout out to some other things you ought to check out. Our podcast version, it's audio only, but it's still great. You can use it while you're driving around, working out, working in the shop, all that stuff. That's pianotechradio.com. We have fans all over the world. It's been a real fun journey. We've reached top 100, top 10, even #1 status in various locales in the performing arts category on iTunes. Also check out our Substack that has articles where we delve into the mysterious and hidden secrets of the piano world that you might not encounter elsewhere. We talk about obscure topics like piano history, designing and constructing pianos, the evolution of the action. We had a pianist do a session on the history of the damper mechanisms, which was actually quite fascinating. A pianist probably knew more than most piano technicians about the damper mechanisms of a piano. And then, of course, just check out the socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and on our website, you can subscribe to our email list. That's pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. All right, let's introduce our fine, talented guest for today. His name is Paul Cornish, a Los Angeles-based jazz pianist and composer known for his versatile style and innovative approach. Originally from Houston, Texas, he began playing piano at the tender age of 5 and attended the High School for the Performing and Visual Arts, following in the footsteps of alumni like Robert Glasper and Jason Moran. He earned his bachelor's in jazz studies from USC's Thornton School of Music and completed a master's degree at the Herbie Hancock Institute of Jazz at UCLA. Cornish has performed with artists including Joshua Redman, Mark Guiliana, Terrace Martin, HAIM, and Kanye West. A 2018 American Jazz Piano Competition winner and finalist in the Herbie Hancock and American Pianist Awards. Cornish signed with Blue Note Records in 2025. He is also an educator teaching at Stanford Jazz Workshop and mentoring young musicians. You can check out his website, paulcornishmusic.com. Paul, welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Absolutely. It's a privilege. You put a lot of work in here, and I'm glad to see you gaining lots of momentum and having a lot of success as a jazz pianist. Having studied jazz piano myself and knowing the complicated world of navigating that profession, an excellent job. So when it comes down to how this all began, you got a good start at about age 5. I'm curious, did you have those kind of really passionate parents who kind of drove you like a slave, or was it more just like you were interested in it, and yeah, they had to kind of coax you, but that was your thing? How did that all come about at age 5?
That's a great question. Yeah, my mom, well, it was two things. Like I actually really want to play drums from the age of 2. I was like always like kind of beating on pots and pans, and like I would be building a drum set out of anything I could find. So I think my mom saw that I just like was drawn to music from that early of an age. I also had older brothers that played instruments, and um, my mom loves music herself, like especially like classical music. And then we grew up in the church, so um, she in her mind she was like, okay, if you're gonna do drums, then you should learn piano as well. She made me and I have 2 older siblings. They had to learn piano as well as another instrument. So I think in her mind it was more so like this is good for you to, just know as a human being, like,
Right.
the arts helps with like learning. And she also saw that my older brothers were able to get like gigs, whether it was playing at church or around town, just like you can earn some extra money. So I don't know if she was necessarily driving me towards a career in music, but I think in her mind she was like, just for being a well-rounded person, you should, pursue this as well as everything else.
Awesome.
Mhm.
And did you also end up playing in church?
I did. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, my parents were heavily involved in the church, and ever since I could remember, I was in church every week. And when I became older enough, I started playing, supporting my church on the instrument, and then once I got to middle school, I started playing outside of my home church, and getting paid for it. So,
That's pretty cool.
mhm.
Um, and was it always piano, or did you play drums as well, other instruments?
I hung on to drums as long as I could. I started formal piano lessons at 5, and then started drums when I was 6. So I did them both like simultaneously up until high school. Like you mentioned, I went to the performing arts school, and they kind of have you focus on one thing. And for me, piano was already starting to kind of take the lead because there were a lot of drummers. So yeah, I would say up until middle school, I was doing drums pretty seriously.
Okay. And but you did play some piano in the church,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
mostly the drum.
definitely.
Yeah.
I was kind of switching back and forth, wherever was needed. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
It feels like it's kind of a relaxed environment too. It's because
yeah, yeah,
there's
definitely.
like
Especially,
a
yeah, the church I grew up in, my uncle was a pastor. It was a pretty small congregation, so it was kind of everyone wore multiple hats.
yeah. Did you ever get a chance to do like one of those nice old Hammond B3s like in a church setting? Did they have one or no?
Not in my home church actually. We were more traditional, like singing. I had to like sight read out of the hymn book. It was kind of
Okay.
upright piano and drums. And then this once I started playing, we call them Sunday churches because the church I grew up in met on Saturdays. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, once I started playing in Sunday churches, that's where I got introduced to the B3.
Okay. And this was all in Texas,
Yeah, yep,
in the Houston area.
yep,
Okay. Yeah, that area has undergone quite a bit of changes, right? A lot of stuff going on there over the past several decades.
totally.
Fascinating. I
Yep.
haven't been there enough. Um, well, let's talk about how what this has evolved to now. I guess we'll go from one end of the spectrum all to the next. So, what's your lifestyle like these days? Are you doing some teaching? Are you doing gigging regularly or here and there? You doing any touring? Are you in groups per se? Other
Mhm.
people, yourself, recording studio? There's all sorts of places that could go. What's your lifestyle like right now?
Yeah, I was gonna say E, all of the above.
All of the above, yeah.
Yeah, I wish that's something that kind of gets talked about more in school, actually, like how, a life in music is kind of all encompassing in a way. Like some people are able to, I guess focus on one thing. But I feel like even then, like especially when you're initially starting out, you kind of just find yourself in very random kind of scenarios. And for me, that was kind of the attraction from the beginning. Why I wanted to move to LA, and then I've always kind of been interested in multiple things like composing. I knew I wanted to teach at some point, um, production a little bit. So yeah, my life right now is kind of actually this is probably the least diverse it's been, but still kind of a little bit of everything. Um, I'm just now kind of reaching this phase in my career where I'm starting to do my own stuff as an artist. I'm playing a lot more jazz specific gigs, and I'm doing some teaching at a couple of schools out here. So
Okay. So a mix of all these things.
yeah, exactly.
Um, do you get called out on these gigs to go travel much, or you stay pretty stationary?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, right now I'm touring with this amazing saxophonist named Joshua Redman.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Wow. Amazing.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah. It's super grateful. But yeah, I'm currently in his band, and it's kind of a new thing he's doing. We're actually getting ready to put out an album. So I've been touring with him maybe the last um, year or so.
And what is touring like these days? So like, from back in the day, touring to me is like you're on a bus and you're going from state to state to state, but you're right here. You said you're touring. Clearly you're at home, I think.
Yeah,
So is it kind of going out on weekends for flights or
yeah.
how does it actually
Um,
manifest?
Yeah, it depends how long the run is. Right now, we've been doing a lot more kind of like weekends. We'll kind of fly to a couple different places. But um, yeah, it all kind of depends. Like a couple years ago, we went to Europe, and that was like almost a month long. So that was kind of a combination of everything, like trains, short flights, driving. Um, I think kind of whatever makes sense, with the budget and the area you're in.
Yeah, in Europe, you said.
Yep.
That's actually kind of fun. Just kind of
Hmm.
rolling around, get a train, get a bus. Yeah. That
Absolutely.
you get a chance to see the landscape and yeah, see how the locals get around. Did you
Hmm.
ever play in Switzerland?
Um, I'm trying to think if we did. I know
Trains
I've
are fun there. Like the trains are relatively nice, and then also the views are cool
the
outside.
views are incredible. I know I've passed through there. I can't remember if we performed specifically in Switzerland or if we just passed through, but I know I've been there while I was on the road, and yeah, the views are incredible. That might be my favorite place right now.
Speaking of favorite places, let's talk about Stanford a little bit. We were just
Mhm.
pre-show. I was just telling you, I have a lot of connections out there, Los Angeles and San Francisco, and in Stanford, and I've become increasingly enamored with Stanford and the campus there. So yeah, tell me about your experience. What is the workshop? Is it like an extended stay? Is it for a semester? How does it work time-wise and location-wise for you as a instructor?
Yeah. Yeah, so they have it's kind of two things. Is there's a Stanford Jazz Festival going on simultaneously with a camp that I think um, is 4 weeks long, but each week is kind of different levels. So I think the first week is kind of a half day for middle school musicians. Weeks 2 and 3 are like kind of high school students. The third week kind of being the most advanced students in high school, and then fourth week is the adult week, and they have different faculty for each week. So I actually did the camp when I was in high school, and that's how I
Oh,
first got introduced.
that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, and it was amazing. That was like changed my life. I met this pianist Taylor who was like, still a mentor and a great influence. But and then once I got to college, since I was already in California, they called me up to start teaching, some of the earlier weeks, and then I kind of just worked my way up from there. So, but yeah, it's a one. I've done a lot of camps, when I was in high school, and that to me is still one of the best experiences because it's really like a family. You're on campus at Stanford for a week. They do these jam sessions every night. You're hearing some of the most incredible music at the festival as well, and then you're getting taught by those same people. So it's really an incredible experience, I think, especially for young students, and even for me as faculty. Like that's how I met Joshua Redman, and
Mm.
um, I've so many people in New York that I know. I feel like I've met through Stanford. So
Oh, yeah. I wasn't really aware of the event. It wasn't hugely on my radar, which I'm
it's kind of
surprised.
a hidden gem. Like, and everybody has come through there. Like, like McCoy Tyner when he was still alive.
Mhm.
Mulgrew Miller. Like anybody you could probably think of. They've had come through that program to teach. You know,
So we're gonna. I think I might love to have you play your digital piano momentarily.
for
We're
sure.
apologizing that we have a digital piano for the acoustic piano program. But
My
before we do
apologies.
that, what is your talk a little bit about your experience with acoustic pianos? Did you have one growing up? Do you run across them on the road? You know, do you have piano technicians that you know or have worked with that, any outstanding experiences? Or no, it changes day to day. What's your experience with the acoustic piano world?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've kind of had this like off and on relationship with it. In terms of my personal what's kind of been in my personal possession. Like when I first started playing piano, we had like this spinet piano at my mom's house, and then long story short, my uncle started his church, but they actually broke away from this other church, and then they kind of needed instruments. So my mom, um, donated our piano to the church, and I think originally it was the church's piano, and they gave it to my mom,
Mm.
and then so it was kind of giving it back, but it was kind of at a time when I was starting to get serious about it. But my mom, she went and bought a Yamaha Clavinova digital piano,
Hmm.
um, which is actually still there to this day, and that kind of became what I used at home. And then once I got to my high school, they had practice rooms with pianos and stuff, and I would often stay after school and practice there. And then um, fast forwarding to me living on my own now, um, you know, I never thought I'd own a piano because I was like they're so expensive, and then a lot of times the free ones that people give away are in pretty bad condition. But
Yeah, buyer beware.
yeah, buyer beware for sure. But one of my mentors, this guy Jason Moran, he is like, you can't really call yourself a serious pianist unless you own a piano, or
You don't
like
get to
if you really,
account.
yeah. He's like, if you're really trying to do this, you kind of have to invest, in an instrument. And so I went on, I think it was Offer Up at the time, and I just bought this like Sherman Clay piano that was just sitting there, no one was playing, and that's kind of been my relationship with owning pianos. But I will say it has made a big difference, having a real one versus, having, even a really nice digital piano with weighted keys. I think it makes a world of a difference.
Yeah, we got to get you a Bosendorfer Imperial Grand at some point here.
You said it. You said
Yeah.
it. It's out there, in the world. I hear.
Do you have a fantasy piano? Like, have you noticed like a brand that you like or specific experiences?
I gotta watch what I say because I'm technically a Yamaha artist,
Oh, okay. All
uh,
right. All right. So you
and I
like
love
it fancy
Yamaha
enough to know.
pianos. However, I've been playing a different brand's piano.
Yamaha owns Bosendorfer, I believe. So
They
there you
do,
go.
they do. There is that. So I don't know if I would ever be able to afford it though, even
Ah,
with
come on.
artist
Set
discount.
things
I
a little bit
mean,
differently.
you never know. Maybe if I get like a grand or something, like Jeremy Dank getting like the MacArthur. But I don't know. We'll see. But Dream Piano, I would say either I love the Yamaha TFX, but there's also and there's also something about like an old like Steinway B that I've been kind of finding interest in, you know.
Nice.
So one of those,
Have you ever played at the what is it? It's up in the Sonoma State University. They have like a university. They have like a performing arts center there. Have you ever played there?
I think I have actually.
You might have, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a community member named Larry who was a tuner there, and
Hmm.
so I visited. I did a little tour, and they have Herbie Hancock's personal Fazio.
Fazioli. Yes, yes, I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
is
it's
that
a
what
great,
you
yeah.
picked? What did you pick to play? Do you remember? Did you pick to play that one?
Yeah, 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 for sure.
Herbie
Yeah,
Hancock. I gotta
yeah,
play this.
it's there. We got it. You got to play it.
You gotta play it. Nice. All right. Well, if you're willing, we'd love to hear a little something, just to get a taste of your music. And yeah, you could just play it like that. So we'll just we won't have to look at the keyboard, but
Okay.
everybody is going to be playing the piano.
Yeah. No, yeah.
Unless you
There's
want
a
to, unless
keyboard.
you
There's a
want to show the
keyboard under
keyboard.
here.
If you want to show the keyboard, you can.
I'll show it for a second,
Okay.
but just to show that it's
Just to
there.
prove that you're not
Yeah,
playing
yeah,
the
exactly.
keyboard
That I'm not
and moving
vibing,
your arms around.
you know. Um, uh, what do I play? Is the question. Hmm.
Do you want to request
Okay.
something? No, you got ideas? Okay.
Oh no, what were you gonna say?
I don't want to put you on the spot, but yeah. Two things came to mind. One, for some reason, one of my favorite tunes, which not a lot of people always have under their fingers, is Skylark. I love that tune.
Mm,
Um, but I also think I heard you actually play Stella by Starlight, a recording. So you probably have.
mm.
Those are two ideas. Those are two favorites. But you can do whatever you want, brother.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, those are both very nice. I mean, maybe I'll do Stella.
Okay, it's up to you.
Okay.
Spotlight. All right, man, gorgeous. That was incredible. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That's a really nice tone for it as well. Um, tell us
Shout out
about
to Contact.
tell us about the rhythm going on there. What's the
Oh
con?
yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. I guess it's I guess somewhat like a Latin influence, kind of. I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah, I've been kind of leaning towards that. I don't know, that rhythm. It's just like fun to kind of play
Okay.
with.
But you
Um,
wouldn't call it specifically like, oh, that's a. I was trying to. I'm not good with rhythms, like naming them. Like, oh, is it it's bossa nova or something like that, right? Whereas you just kind of like,
yeah, I guess it's kind of in a bossa like pattern. Like yeah, like kind of the upbeat type of thing.
yeah,
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 yeah.
great. Yeah. In the beginning, I just noticed the kind of more, I guess you might call it like a 16th note underpinning, which was very unique, and it didn't
Hmm.
necessarily sound Latin per se. It just kind of had a nice rhythm to it. But wow, that was great.
Thank
Um, so let's talk a little bit more about your time in there in Los Angeles. Well, first of all, I was curious. I was thinking earlier, do you know who your piano tutor is?
Yeah, I have uh two kind of go to. One is my guy Alex Anderson. He actually tunes pianos at USC. He's
Okay.
an incredible pianist. He studied piano at Berkeley, but yeah, he's been tuning my pianos for years, ever since I got one, really. And he's a good friend. I feel like he does. Through him, I've been learning about the art of piano tuning, just like kind of the different levels that go into like voicing a piano, um, you know, what kind of treatment is needed when you get a new piano and it hasn't been tuned for a while, and kind of all more the nuances. So he's my go-to, and then if he's not available, um, there's a new younger guy. He's like maybe 22. His name is Wesley. I'm blanking on his last name right now, but I know his company is Stellar Piano Service, and I met him through. Actually, I did a performance, and I had Yamaha. They provided a piano, and he came in, and that was my first time meeting him. But yeah, really sweet guy. He's super talented. Like he has a great ear for tuning and voicing, and yeah, just a kind person too. So I go
Wesley
to those.
Williams, is that right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, yeah, I see. See his website. Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's like 21 and just like he taught himself, and I think he's been getting mentored by like some older piano tuners, but he's yeah, amazing.
wonderful.
Hmm.
Yeah, I know some other technicians, but they're like, uh, if you ever get a chance to meet with a guy named Carl Lieberman, he's one of our audience members. He's kind of one of those old school guys. He's been around for years. He's
I'll
played,
check him
done
out.
like the recording studios and
Hmm.
cruise ships and all that stuff around town. But fascinating guy.
I'm
Uh,
sure he has stories.
oh yeah, yeah. He lives in Venice. Yeah,
Mm.
he's a good friend. He's a good friend. Whereabouts in LA are you? It's a big
Yeah, I'm
area.
in Koreatown now, which has been really cool. I've been here less than a year actually. Moved last August, and then before that, I was in Winnetka, like in the valley, for like 4 years.
Is Koreatown near like the downtown LA area? Is that
Yeah, I feel like it's like for me where I'm at right now is like the perfect kind of access point to is right next to downtown South, and then north of me is Hollywood, so I can kind of get to those major destinations pretty readily accessible.
yeah. Yeah, I would love to hear more about your experience of the scene out there in Los Angeles in terms of what musicians you run across and you know I actually I've gone to see jazz a few times in Los Angeles, but not as many as I'd like. I think I went out I've been to Herb Alpert's place.
Vibrato.
Vibrato. I've been there a
Yeah,
handful of times. I have a friend who plays there. Do you know a guy named Freddie Ravel by chance?
I do.
You know
Speaking of
Freddie?
someone with a Bosendorfer,
Yeah, he has a Bosendorfer, yes.
yeah, I actually just met Freddie at the NAMM show last year, and we connected. Yeah, he's amazing person and also crazy career. But yeah, he's awesome.
Nice. Yeah, what else do you notice about the scene out there? Because you got the movie industry too. I mean, there's all sorts of interesting opportunities.
Yeah. Where do I even begin? I think it was I came out I think at a cool time because right before I got here was when you know Kendrick Lamar dropped "To Pimp a Butterfly," and then um, that one kind of focused on like the jazz scene in LA. You know, people like Kamasi Washington, Terrace Martin. Um, they had this thing called the West Coast Get Down, and so I think there was kind of just like a hidden attention to the LA jazz scene, and there was all this excitement around it. And so when I got here, I think it was kind of like the burgeoning of that of like you know there was this place called the Blue Well where amazing people would play all the time. I used to go there. I couldn't get in because I wasn't 21, but they would open the door and I would like stand there. And I also met people out of that way because I would stay until the end of the show when they were like leaving.
Just hanging
So
outside.
yeah, exactly. You know, we'll block them. But no, Blue Well was crucial. Um, and so I felt like I met this amazing community of musicians. You know, people like Lewis Cole. When I first got here, I got to work with Terrace. I still work with Terrace a lot. I met Kamasi. Um, yeah, all these people that kind of either went to USC or like they maybe lived in New York and then moved to LA. For um, various reasons. And then, like you said, like the studio scene, film music industry. That's kind of another thing that attracted me to being out here. So I got to score some films. Um, got to do a lot of recording. And then I also got to work with some pop artists. Like you mentioned, like working with HAIM, um, and Kanye West as well. That was all through kind of people I met out here. So it's kind of everything.
In Los Angeles.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Kanye lives in Los Angeles mainly.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
did you ever do that Sunday service thing?
That was what I did actually.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was on piano for that was actually a funny situation with the piano. Uh, but yeah, I was playing piano for that, and then actually my brother, that was the first time we got to work together because he was a music director.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I never participated. Does that still go on? Do you know? I have no idea.
No, it died in 2020, and then he's had a whole couple of lives since then. So
Yeah, there's always a new life.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But it was like 2 years actually. It was it was a good run.
Yeah. My friend said she went there one time and oh gosh, what's his name? Of course, right when I wanted to think of his name, the famous producer that's out there,
Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin. Yeah, she went there and Rick Rubin was hanging out as well. Yeah.
Hmm.
Have you ran Rick Rubin around or no?
So yeah, I think I was at that one where he was at, and I don't know. I'm one. I don't like to bother people, so I saw him and like I don't want to say I was like starstruck, but it was one of those things. I was like, oh man, like I'm sure people go up to him all the time. I don't want to like I'm not gonna like bother him, So I kind of missed my chance at that moment to
To tackle
uh,
him.
yeah, to tackle him exactly. But I'm LA, the scene here is small, so I'm sure maybe I'll run into him again. But I've definitely worked with people from his camp, like this amazing producer Rex Kudo, who's kind of doing his own thing now. He worked with him for a long time.
You ever check out his podcasts? Your podcast,
Yeah, yeah. In his book,
his book,
you know,
yeah.
I catch things here and there.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a fan. The
Yeah.
the the Broken Record, that was the podcast where he did that with Malcolm Glad.
Yes. I love that one actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm
actually, the guy, what's his name? There's another guy, the journalist that works on that podcast. I can't think of his name right now, but we tune his piano out in New York
mm,
City. Um, and then the Tetragrammaton is his other podcast.
hmm.
I like listening to it, but it gets a little bit too far out there for me sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. That's my only thing. If I can't even, say anything, yeah. Sometimes it gets a little out there, but
But I like it. I like that it
yeah,
goes.
yeah. No, absolutely. It gives you a different perspective, which I think, that's all you can really ask of people like that to kind of just provide a certain perspective that, either you take it or you don't. But
Yeah, it's amazing. Um, do you feel like playing again?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I love since I grew up in the church. I still play in church sometimes, but I love just like sitting down and playing hymns because that's like what I grew up on. So
The
if that's
chord
okay.
changes
Yeah,
tend to be like really nice.
yeah, yeah. There's something
Yeah.
really just like pure about them. I think so. Um, yeah. Let's see.
Very nice.
Hey.
So now I'm going to ask you to share all your secrets.
I don't know if I have much.
But yeah, that sparked me. So I'm imagining number one that you probably do that. You when you just sit down at the piano and you just can play, that kind of happens. Oh, play one of the old hymns that I used to play. Just that's
Mhm.
kind of what if you're just working something out, maybe you like to kind of like mess with it. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
I do that on occasion. Uh, and again, you're miles ahead of me, but I'd love just to take like one song and just beat it to death. It's like Christmas time for some reason or something. Like I'll just take like
Oh
a
yeah.
quick, just go all sorts of different directions with it, and it's just
Mhm.
fun. Um,
Totally.
but yeah, what has been your process in terms of putting like practicing and studying and putting together your style and your approach. How's that evolved? Any uh any pivotal moments in
Yeah,
your
a few. And I still feel like I have so far to go. Like you look at somebody like a Herbie Hancock, um, he's still like practicing and looking for new things. So uh, yeah, I'm kind of stuck. I'm stuck in this thing. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I just try to be curious about everything. You know, um, I feel like there's so much amazing music currently around us, but also that has preceded us. And I think I'm just kind of always trying to one just in general just get better at this instrument, and then two just kind of looking for different perspectives on how to approach this music. And I think one of the main amazing things I love about jazz is that all of it can be a part of it. So um, yeah, for me, it's just just kind of following my curiosity, always checking new things out, always trying new things. Every time I sit down to play, I feel like I'm discovering new things about you know um, harmony or how to play a song. So um, just keeping that spirit, and then yeah, just checking out new things and figuring out different ways to incorporate those languages.
do you have like a practice routine these days? And
Mhm.
yeah, what is it, like a daily thing? Is it like whenever you get the chance? What do you do? I mean,
Yeah,
no
we'll
judgment.
yeah, we'll keep it at whenever I get a chance. 'Cause, yeah, I should be practicing more. But I've been learning to kind of have a little more grace with myself for that, just because I think you are always kind of uh, improving in different ways. Like even just like the experiences we have, when we travel or meet new people. I think all of that goes back into the music. Um, and just like listen, like I try to listen as much as I can. But when I do sit down to practice, it's actually pretty boring. Despite everything I just said about like curiosity and trying new things, like I try to keep it um, more like technical and fundamentals. I heard I don't know if you watched The Last Dance, the like that Michael Jordan documentary
Oh, I
that was
haven't
on
seen
that.
that yet. Haven't seen it
Yeah,
yet.
yeah. It was so interesting when I was like when I watched the episodes that were about him and his growing up. And I think I saw a later interview where he talked to his trainer, but apparently he was always working on like the basic fundamentals of like
Fundamentals.
yeah,
Mhm.
jump shots from like a certain spot for like hours, or like dribbling. Even late into his career when he was already like the best. And
Mhm.
then, but if you see him play, that's there. But like the things we think of are like the highlights. Him doing like a crazy like under the basket layup, or like dunking or crossover. You know, and I don't know. That just got me thinking about um yeah, if I just like take care of the fundamentals, like never getting tired of like the basic foundation and keeping that intact, then you know the rest is left up to my imagination. So I try not to practice the things that I think should be preserved for the present moment and the spontaneity, but just take care of the tools, I guess.
So are we talking scales? Are
Yeah,
we
yeah,
talking
yeah. You're like, so
chords?
what is it?
Yeah, yeah.
No,
I'm
yeah,
curious.
scales. Literally scales. I do this thing I learned in high school, just like 4 octaves, contrary motion, major, harmonic minor, melodic minor,
Hmm.
and um, I'll just do that every or whenever I sit down at the piano. Even when I'm on the road, if I get a second, that's my warm up. Arpeggios, same thing, major, minor, 4 octaves, contrary motion. Um, I have these Bach chorales that I look at. That's always just been great for just like um, getting my fingers moving and also for like sight reading. Um, Bach inventions. Um, and then once I'm done, oh, sometimes I haven't done it lately, but there was a while where I was doing like hand-in exercises. And it was like the ones in the back of the book where like I feel like it gets like kind of crazy, but it would just be like this repeated thing. Like I'm literally just like using like
Three
three
fingers,
fingers.
three fingers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then so I'll sometimes I'll put that in different keys just to like find where my weak spots are with that type of muscle. Um, yeah, and like every now and then I'll just kind of find different exercises that kind of focus on different parts of my technique that I might feel limited in. Um, and then once I'm done with that, I'm just like kind of learning music. Like usually it's for a gig, or maybe I'll work on a tune. If I feel like I don't know it super well. But yeah, it's super it's super boring. It's just like
Well,
kind of
it's an interesting point you made. One of the privileges I've found of doing this program and meeting so many people, and I met other people. I've done other podcasts even, and you just meet people in lots of different domains. You start to see patterns, but that
mm,
is also a pattern that I've drawn out, is
mm,
that the the best people still focus on the fundamentals.
mm,
And yeah, it's pretty consistent, you know. And also like another one that I've drawn out is the best people pay attention to the details that you wouldn't think are important,
mm,
right?
mm,
Or you kind of like, I always tell people, or I tell myself, this is what I think, right? And then I share this with people. If I'm performing a skill, be it like tuning pianos or making a podcast or whatever it is, right? If there's something where I'm like, should I do that? Like it seems like it matters, but gosh, I don't even know.
mm,
Do that, then you're at the top. Those are the or the like, do you hear that? I don't know if I quite hear that. Yeah, I hear that, right?
mm.
Yeah, that's important. Those are the
Yeah,
things, the fine details. Um, so that's another thing I've drawn out. But yeah, I agree. That sounds like it makes a lot of sense. Uh,
totally.
all right, let's see here. In terms of we're going to probably wrap up in about 10 minutes. I'm trying to think about what's a good wrap up here. Um, anything about the future, about your plans? You got any, you know,
Actually, yes.
got
Yeah,
the
thank you for
Brothers
asking that.
Imperial Grants going to be there at some point.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
else?
Um, so yeah, my first album, like you said, with Blue Note is coming out in August 22nd. The first single drops June 11th, along with the pre-save link, pre-order link for the whole album. So uh, yeah, if you remember that a month from now, that's something to look out for. I keep forgetting to mention it. I'm so bad about like
Practice.
shameless
Practice
plug.
makes perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Fundamentals. Mention
Yeah,
your album.
exactly. Uh, but yeah, that's and then of course there's gonna be like a tour on the other side of that. So wherever everyone is, check the announcement for when I'm coming to a city near you. It'll be cool to meet some of you in person. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, those and then going out with Joshua Redman. Like I said, he's putting out a new album that we recorded, so we're gonna be touring that as well, kind of all over. So um, those are the main things, and then back to trying to play this humbling instrument, trying to get better. Um, but I had a couple questions to you about piano tuning.
Oh yeah, sure, sure. Yeah, I'll make one comment though, just about something we
Yeah.
just talked about with the fundamentals. So I have
Mm-hmm.
a 7-year-old, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for the past 7 years, I've had a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, and so forth along the way. But yeah, it's very interesting to just remember the fundamentals through watching a child learn, you know? It's
Mm-hmm.
literally like, okay, it's red, blue, and yellow. You know, this is where we start. We learn about colors, you know?
Yeah.
And I notice how easily it is to forget the fundamentals, you know, forget that there are fundamentals, forget that everything that's there needs to be built on something else. I also did I just tried this movement thing that I just heard about. I don't know how
Mm.
long it's been around. It's called animal flow. Have you heard of this?
No.
It's just another like workout thing or whatever.
Mm.
But it's a lot of work on the ground. You know, you're like kind of crawling around and doing these things, you know, but it's always the same stuff, right? You learn a movement, you learn a piece of it, then you learn a piece of it, and then you put the pieces together, and then you learn a piece of it, and then you put all the pieces together. I also studied birdsong in my graduate studies as well, and
Mm.
that's because they study motor patterns, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
always the same thing across all species. When you have to learn something, you got to break down the parts, you learn the parts, and you got to put the parts together. But anyways, what was your question about the piano tuning?
Well, I was quick comment on that. Yeah, I think the most humbling thing for me has been teaching actually, because you realize how well you know something or don't know something by your ability to like teach someone else,
Yeah.
what the concept is. So I have a great student. I'm teaching at UC Irvine now, and he's like he's getting into jazz. He's maybe been playing for a few years, and like our first few lessons, he was like, "Man, can you just like show me, some cool things to play?" I'm like, "I can, but it's not really. I feel like it'd be better to kind of teach you where it comes from, so it's not just like you have that one lick and that's it. You'll be able to kind of generate ideas on your own, which I think is more ideal. But yeah, that's been like one of the hardest things to kind of like break down things and to like think about like what is most important for someone that's like just getting into it. But yeah, I thought about that when you're talking about your
So you have
kids.
questions about the piano for me? What was
Yes.
okay? What do you got?
Um, yeah. What? Well, okay. What as a pianist yourself, and then also someone that has tuned pianos, like what do you think the formula is for like sound, like good sound?
Good sound like on a piano?
Yeah.
Well, I'll probably be passing this along from other folks that I heard it from, but and I could try to put my own thought into it too. But generally on the piano, as a technician, if we're trying to optimize the instrument, um, it is giving the pianist the widest range to work so that you could do what you want inside that palette. So make sure that, you know, the quiet is as quiet as it can be, and the loud is as loud as it can be, and
Mm-hmm.
the bright is as bright as it can be, and then but then also that there's gradient in between. So, you're talking about voicing, for example. So you could voice if you didn't voice the hammers properly, you might have the soft. Great, the soft is soft. You might have the loudest loud. But if you didn't voice them properly, you might not have all the little gradients in between.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is kind of the general principle for a
Mm.
technician is to give the pianist the widest palette to work with. Yeah.
That
And
makes
also,
sense.
yeah. And also, I mean, this is kind of not a direct answer to your question, but one thing we focus on is removing the instrument from the artist's consciousness, right? Like
Mm.
you want to make that thing work so that when the person's playing it, they're not thinking about the piano. They're just thinking about playing. They're just
Mm-hmm.
thinking about the music. And the obvious thing is, oh, well, that note's out of tune. Now you're playing like, oh, okay, and it gets in your way, or if the key sticks a little bit, or if the touch is uneven. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the goal for the piano technician is to just kind of make the instrument disappear for you. Nothing stands out as odd which is very rare, as you know, if you're on the
Right.
road
Of course.
piano. But that's
Mhm.
the goal. That's the goal. Yeah.
I like
And
that.
I've heard we've had several people talk about like the tone of pianos and how to approach it. One thing that I heard that was interesting from a guy that used to work for Yamaha actually is to think about each piano having its own voice, right? That needs to be drawn
Mm-hmm.
out. So you could try to say, I want to make this Yamaha sound like a Steinway. No, don't bother. Make the
No,
Yamaha
yeah.
sound like the Yamaha. Make the
Mhm.
Steinway sound like a Steinway. Each piano, you got to kind of listen to that instrument to pull out how it is supposed to sound, or even know, from the brand or the manufacturer what the intention is there.
I'm so glad you said that because I haven't heard anyone actually really speak about this, but that's how I feel like as a player, like each piano has its own character. Um, and I personally love that aspect of it. Like I always liken it to like meeting a person, a new person for the first time, and you're like learning their personalities and you're getting to know them. And that's always the most fascinating part to me about uh, every piano I get to play. Like none of them are exactly the same, even if it's
Mm.
the same model. But like you know, from it being made to the history it's kind of had with everyone that's played it and the rooms it's sat in, like I think all of that is in there, and it's so interesting for me to like I don't know, it's like a new challenge, and like you said, it kind of it totally influences how you approach it um, each time. So that's cool to hear from the perspective of a tuner.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I'm just like a flexible type of person, so I'm always like, whatever you give me, I'm gonna work with it. Uh,
Yep.
and generally, it seems like the best of pianists, again, something I've learned throughout the way, the best of pianists, yeah, they know how to ask for what they'd like with the piano, but generally, they're not going to be terribly demanding. Like they're gonna have the instrument and they're gonna make it work, and
Hmm.
that's what makes them a good performer. But it reminds me, I don't know if you heard this story, and I forget the details of it, but the famous Cone concert.
Yep. Yep.
Apparently there was something wrong with that piano. I forget what it was, like a note out of tune or a key wasn't working or something. And he almost didn't even do the concert. He was so
Hmm.
disappointed with the performance of the piano.
Wow. That's
But then he went
crazy.
and he did it. And
We wouldn't
it's
have
classic,
had one of the
classic.
greatest solo piano, yeah, classics of all time.
Yeah. All right. Well, we should probably wrap up here momentarily. You shared a little bit about your upcoming endeavors. Any final words of wisdom or anything else you want to share before I do a little outro here?
Uh, I don't know if I have any wisdom, but yeah, I mean, really just thank you for this opportunity. I feel like I'm really just getting started in my career, even though I've been doing this for a while, I guess. But like especially just beginning my career as an artist. And so I guess I just want to encourage anybody that's like pursuing this as a career, just keep going. The path almost certainly will not look like whatever you think it should look like, but I think there's a beauty in that as well. You kind of in the unexpected and the unplanned, you learn a lot more, and you also learn how to relinquish control as well. But I think if you stick with it, you'll find your way there. So
Sounds good. All right. Trying to think of something to say after that. I think I don't know. A couple things came to me, but they're sort of pseudo applied. The one is the Bruce Lee, the quote, "Be water,"
you are, yeah.
But yeah, that's the what I've encountered. The more you try to make something happen, the less likely it's gonna happen. You gotta let
Mhm.
go. You gotta let go for something to actually happen.
I'm
Um,
curious about you too, like all the different things you've kind of gotten into in your life. Like, were any of those like kind of what you set out to do?
oh, no, yeah, no. That's I mean, I feel like when I really started to get anything better at piano, it was effortless mastery. Did you ever do effortless mastery?
Kenny Warner. Yep.
Any word. Yeah, I went back and actually it had been years and I listened to those again recently, those meditations, But I feel like, I played pretty well, but it was actually that kind of attitude, like learning about it, which I was resistant to at the time, pretty skeptical about. That really kind of I felt like I took me to another, oh yeah, just kind of like let go, relax, breathe. Every note I play is the most beautiful sound I've ever heard.
hmm
That
hmm
was that was helpful. And I did carry that, forward into other things. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, well, this conversation for another day, or we can talk a little bit afterwards.
For sure.
But I'll do the outro here. So we have reached the end of another musical journey here at Piano Tech Radio Hour. Thank you very much to Paul Cornish for joining us today. As always, we're brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, cutting edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. For those of you that joined us today by signing up with the session individually, make your life more convenient. Subscribe to PTRH, just $16 a month. You get the recording of today's session in a memory area, as well as automatic registration for each week's new session. Sign up at bit.ly/join PTRH. That's bit.ly/join PTRH. Don't forget about the podcast, the blog, and our email list on the website, as well as our socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for spending your Saturday, summer day